Ready?
Yeah.
So hello and welcome back. This is Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney.
And we are back today to talk about all of the livery launches that just
The what
finished.
launches?
Livery.
Oh, livery. I thought you said live free. And I was like, what are you talking about?
You're like,
Alex?
that's not what I came here for.
But yeah.
So
We're talking about that. I mean, I think everyone's released already so far, right?
Yeah. Everything is all done.
Yep.
So now we're a week out from the testing in Bahrain, less than a week.
Yeah, less than a week.
And Drive to Survive in like 5 days.
I know.
I can't wait.
I know.
And I did hear somebody that was like privy to the episodes and like them being released said that all 10 are being released at the same time.
Oh, thank God.
So that's exciting because we don't have to wait. Like we just binge watched You.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only like 4 or 5 episodes out. And so now I'm like,
This is annoying.
yeah, I had to wait until March 9th. So
True. So, okay. Well, before we get into it, I spent some time with my family this weekend. My brother specifically, and he's a huge F1 fan. And he was talking about some of our episodes and like different things. And you know how we were talking about, if you win the Drivers' Championship, you have the option to be number 1 as your racing number for the next year. Well, actually, that is a new thing. Because probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you are not allowed to select your number. Your number was based on how you placed on the grid the previous season.
So like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So if you came in 10th, you would be number 10?
You'd be number 10.
No way.
Yeah. And then every year it just like, it changed. Yeah. And you weren't allowed to select your own number. But until like, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think that's when they changed it. And I was like, man, I actually really like that. Because then you could, you can know. It's total cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're wearing your
I'm thinking
mark
about
of
it
shame.
from like a marketing and like merch standpoint.
Yeah.
That would be really hard, right? Because like you want to build like a brand around like, this is my number, like buy my shirt that has my number on it.
Yep. Yeah. So, but anyway,
oh my God. Crazy.
Isn't that kind of fun?
I
thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Fun fact for today.
Fun fact. But also, too, I want to talk about my jacket really quick.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm really excited about my jacket. I got it at the thrift store, and it's NASCAR, but today is actually the Daytona 500.
It is.
So I don't watch NASCAR. Don't know if I'll get into that, but I kind of was, like, intrigued. Like, maybe we'll put it on later. I don't know. And just see. But anyways, I wanted to just talk about my jacket because I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Alex will have to tag the store in Houston.
Yeah. It was a really cute store, super organized. I was telling Courtney we need to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, so we're going to jump in to the launches and we're going to go in order of when they were launched.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to kind of give our thoughts and talk about what we think. Yeah. So starting out with Haas, that was the first launch, and their launch was very, there wasn't really like a presentation like all the other teams did. They just simply posted the picture of the car on their Instagram and like all their social media channels and whatever. And it was just there. That's it. Like, here's the car, which I can kind of appreciate.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
For me, like, even I was telling Alex, like, Alex watched all of the launches, right? For me, I was like, I'm going to be real. I did not have the time to watch all these launches. I watched parts of them, but I was like, for instance, RedBull, we'll get to them. They were so long. And I was like,
they drug on and it was like so anticlimactic. Like, they would finally get to the car and it would be like, okay, that's the car.
Okay, another fun fact I actually learned from my brother. The car that they show, 9 times out of 10 is not even the car that they race with.
Right.
It's just like it's a replica.
Of course, yeah. Like it's like a show car.
Yeah, like the guts of it are not even the car.
Right.
Which is just like,
I know.
Kind of annoying to me.
So some of them too, like, I mean, they'll change so much because they're constantly like
tweaking.
upgrading and tweaking and doing whatever. So at the end of the season, like the cars that are launched will not really look the same. But it's interesting, like all of the like, I don't know, just craziness and hype that goes into some of these launches. And Haas did not have that at all because they didn't even do anything in person. But as far as the car, I like this car.
So I do too. The one thing I do want to point out that I really like is the MoneyGram logo isn't obnoxious.
Right. I was going to ask you what you thought of that because we've been annoyed. Well. Yeah. And they fit it in there. We're looking at pictures because we have the pictures on our phones. But they fit it in there really like seamlessly. I really like the black. And that's something too we'll talk about like as we get into the other teams. Like there's a lot of teams that have gone for a lot of black.
Yeah.
And really what it is on a lot of them is the exposed like carbon. So basically like the cars are made out of carbon. They've just chosen to not paint a lot of the areas because it helps them have a lower weight.
Oh, so, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what happens because like, I mean, a lot of these cars look so similar that they're going to be on the track and it's going to be hard to differentiate. And so I'm wondering too, if even like and people have come out and talked about this and kind of like thrown that out there. If the FIA or F1 or whoever like does all those rules and regulations comes out and says like, you have to have a certain percentage of your car painted. I don't know. I mean,
or maybe Ferrari's going to throw their
their
veto because you never know. Like, I mean, especially performance. I mean, you're talking like 1/10 of a second.
Right. Like how much difference does it really make?
Probably a 10th of a second.
My thought.
Think about it. Some of these races
come down to that.
Is a big
deal. Absolutely.
So, okay.
So no, I generally feel good about this. I think it looks very different from the car that they had last year.
Yes.
Which is also nice. I like to see change.
Yeah.
But okay, so moving on to Red Bull. And so this Red Bull launch was
atrocious.
So hyped up.
I thought it was terrible.
So dramatic. Oh my God, it was. And it was so awkward
and long
and it didn't flow well. It seemed to me like they kind of, went out, did this and like I'm like, did they have an agenda? Like, did they have somebody like managing this? And like, it just did not flow well at all.
I think it's also because of the Ford release.
Right.
I think
maybe they weren't
they weren't intending or expecting to really talk about it.
That, and then it got leaked.
I think so.
So it was so awkward and to the point where like I was watching it and I was like cringing a little bit. I was like, ugh. Like, so started out, they talked to Christian. They had like a round table of like,
for, not
Red
Bull and Ford people.
Yeah. And so like they had all these other Red Bull athletes that were like snowboarders and skiers and whatever. And so they kind of talked to them and it was like, it was just awkward. It was awkward. And then they had Daniel Ricciardo, which like a ton of the coverage and like everything that came out after this was like very centered around Daniel.
I'm telling you, I think if Checo does not perform, they are going to literally cut him and they're going to put Daniel in.
Yeah. And like, I mean, they've been parading him around. Like he went on at like before and after this, he was on like late night shows and like doing all this press and doing all this social media. And I'm just like, wow. Yeah. It's really like in your face. But okay. So outside of all of that, I thought it was really awkward. I thought it was really long, drawn out. And then I was disappointed because I thought like this was like they went to New York City to do this.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been a great like opportunity to do something outside, like in Times Square, like let the public go.
Buildings.
Like let, make it more like they had a very exclusive, like small group of people there. I thought if you're gonna come to New York, like I was expecting it to be like Good Morning America or something. Do you know what I mean? Especially now, like there's 3 races in the US, like the fanship and whatever has grown so much. Like, I thought they would do something more with it.
Yeah.
Like, they could have done in London or, wherever. Like, there was no really need to be in New York, I felt like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it lasted over an hour.
And the other thing I want to point out is I feel like the car,
my God,
the paint color, the design, like, aesthetic looks identical.
The same.
It's the same.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
But I will say, the whole side of the Red Bull car now, very different.
Yeah, the side pods are different. Like, structurally, there's a lot, I feel like, of changes.
The rear wing. The rear wing is a huge change.
I mean, it's like double the size of the one that they had.
No,
it's smaller. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the other one.
Last year is double the size.
Yeah.
But aesthetically, I was just like, you couldn't come up with something else?
I know. Like, give me a different color. Give me, like, even from the details of, like, the Red Bull, like, on the little air inlet thing, it looks exactly the same. Like, if you put both of these cars in front of me and you told me to say, like,
which one was which,
I would be like,
no idea.
They're the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, they did all of this hype and all of this long drawn out everything to release the car, and it literally looks the same. And even, like, I thought the funniest part for me was after they kind of, like, unveiled the car, they asked all the drivers, what were their thoughts, and Max was like, well, it looks the same.
I remember.
And he literally said it, like, he said it looked the same. But then the argument of, like, okay, well, if it's been doing well and it looks good and whatever, like, why change it? But I'm just like, no, that's boring.
No.
Then if you're going to do the same, then don't make such a big deal out of it.
Exactly. That's what I think.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about with them was at the end of this whole presentation, they announced that Stefano Domenicali was going to come out. And then, like, the announcer guy was like, oh, okay, like, he's on his way. And then they kind of made, like, small talk awkward for another, like, 2 minutes. And then he comes back and he's like, okay, so I've just been told that he's not on his way. And he didn't show.
Oh,
which was so awkward. And then they, like, wrapped up the whole thing. And I don't know, a bunch of people on the internet were saying, like, that he basically didn't want to show favor to Red Bull over, like, a Ferrari or a Mercedes or whatever, which is true. I mean, that was when they announced him coming out, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, why is he going to show up to everyone else's? Because this was the first, like, in-person launch.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was just weird. It was awkward. And then I felt like after they said he wasn't going to come, Christian was kind of, like, bummed. I mean,
but at the same time, again, it's very poor planning.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone
it was just awkward.
Well aware of the situation.
Right. It didn't seem like there was an agenda. They were just like, and now we're going to go over here. And like, no one seemed to be prepped on what they were going to say.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was awkward. I didn't like it.
They're going to immediately go to my bottom list for releases. Sorry, Red Bull, but I mean, come on. And we expect more from you being, top of the grid.
Yeah.
Let's get real.
They had a real opportunity here. It left me wondering, like, who is doing event planning for these people?
I don't know. Someone needs to be fired.
Somebody needs to help. So they need to have somebody else brought in. I don't know. I'm available. Anyways, so moving on to Williams.
Yeah.
So this one I thought was done really well. They had Will Buxton hosting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I like Will Buxton. I like his voice. I think he does a good job of hosting and, like, moving things along and everything. Timing wise, like, it wasn't super long. It wasn't drawn out.
Okay.
I thought the information that they were talking about was relevant and interesting. So they were talking about, like, they have a new sponsor. It's Gulf, which used to be McLaren.
Oh, yeah.
They brought out some of their academy drivers. They brought out Jamie Chadwick, who's going to be on IndyCar for them this next year.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was cool. And they talked, like, and it was, like, brief little interviews that flowed well.
Yeah.
Weren't awkward. It was great.
Very planned.
Yeah, and then they had a couple videos, like they showed Logan doing his training camp.
Okay.
And they showed Alex Albon, kind of like a little hype video for both of the drivers. And then they interviewed them together, which is the first time I've seen them together.
Probably, yeah, because it's been off season and, so I think they're getting into the groove of things.
I mean, they were talking about, like they've known each other and whatnot and whatever. And so I thought that they had a good vibe together, which made me happy.
Mm-hmm. I will say the car looks fabulous.
I love this car.
And like all the changes, I mean, look at the ventilation system that they seem to maybe help with some of the cooling.
Like and that wasn't there before.
Yeah, their whole side panel is very, very different.
It looks sleek. It looks kind of mean, which I like. It gives me like a shark vibe. Ooh. I don't know if it's because of the blue, but then also those like inlets kind of look like gills.
No, but and then like the side panel, like I don't know.
It looks sleek. I like it.
I feel like I feel like Williams may be somebody to look out for because it looks like they made a lot of changes.
They made a lot of changes, and like hopefully those are all going to be like upgrades for them.
Yeah.
Another thing too I love is the Duracell product placement on the air inlet.
Oh yeah.
Like I love that because that where it's at looks like a battery, and then they've like put the Duracell on there. Yeah. Which so they had that on the car for the Miami race. I believe the race at COTA too.
Okay.
But hopefully they keep it for all the races this year because I think that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes me happy. I like well thought out things like that.
Man, I mean, but honestly, it's very different.
This is one of my favorites this year. I like the colors. And I think, too, they haven't gone for, like, all black, which, like, a lot of the... Not
they
all
actually
black,
took
but...
more black out.
Yeah.
And they've added more of the blue, the lighter blue. Yeah.
Right. Like, they've added some... It looks different, you know?
Does. And that's what I'm saying. I think
it looks good.
Super excited to see this on the track.
Yeah, it looks good.
Like it could be a really good change for them.
I'm hoping so. And I thought their launch was good. Yeah. It was entertaining. It flowed well. Mm-hmm. I thought it was good. It was great. Moving now on to Alfa Romeo. Mm-hmm. So they had this launch in Switzerland at their headquarters.
Okay.
Setting was like almost like an Oprah or like The View or like a talk show type
where you have like a bunch of people sitting
it was like
in the stadium.
Yes, it was like stadium seating around like the stage.
Okay.
And it was very like clean and corporate looking.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, and it was
Swiss are very much like business.
Right. But so the funny thing to me was they start out, Ted Clarkson was hosting, and he says the crowd is made up of the Alfa Romeo like fan club, like members from their fan club.
Okay.
These people were like, I'm 99.9% sure they were like paid actors to be there because they literally looked so like, yeah, like it was.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to smile.
They were definitely not like fan club. Like it was like that was weird. Like, and then they would kind of like something would happen and they would announce somebody and then there would be like a pause and before they start applauding.
Like a cue card that's like,
yes,
applaud.
Like somebody was standing behind being like, okay, now is when you clap. Yeah. Like, look excited, smile. Like that's it was hilarious. It was weird. Like that part was weird. You have fans. Like there is a fan club. Like it really invite them. And if these people were part of the fan club, maybe they were just like
scared to death of something.
Maybe they were like in shock. I have no idea. It was weird. That part was strange.
They didn't give you F1 fan vibe.
No, they looked like I don't know, like they brought out people from like their office or something that like were mad that they had to be at work that day. Like it was just weird. I don't know. Another thing I thought was weird about this launch was that Andreas Seidel didn't say anything.
Oh, interesting.
Like he sat and they showed him and he kind of like waved.
Do you think it's
but he didn't speak.
I know, but do you think it's because maybe like he's still settling into the position? I mean,
could be.
They just announced that not even a month ago.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that is true. So, that is true. But I thought that would have been a good opportunity for him to, even if he's not well versed in like what's going on at this point, which like that's kind of scary if he's not. But Like,
maybe he's just one of those real shy, quiet types.
Maybe he's quiet.
And maybe he's not going to be the more outspoken one.
Yeah,
right. In the group, you know?
Right. They also have like this team rep guy, Alexander something. I don't even know who it was. And so he was talking.
Maybe that's going to be like
maybe that's the face of the situation.
Yeah.
Because Andreas Seidel, he's not the principal. He's the CEO now of that Sauber group or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't have a principal announced, and they're not going to have one. They're going to have this team representative.
Oh, okay.
That's going to kind of like fill that role.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. So maybe that makes sense. But I thought it was strange that he just like sat there and didn't say anything. But anyways, also too funny about this launch was they had this team representative guy and then somebody else, like a technical guy, talking to the host, answering questions about the car. And this is before they like unveiled the actual car. Mm-hmm. And they were putting pictures up on a screen behind them talking of what the car looked like. Yeah. Which I think was a mistake. Yeah. Like,
it's supposed to be like a big reveal.
Yeah. Like, so they were talking about it and even the host was like, oh, you know, like, we're so excited to get to see this car. And like, when we get to see the car, and meanwhile, the pictures are like
scrolling,
rolling on like a PowerPoint behind them. It was very strange. But okay. So then they transitioned into showing the drivers like unveiling the actual car with like a sheet on it.
Yeah, like whatever. I saw that where they were rolling it back.
Right.
And it got stuck up at one point. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice. I
think that's a cool way to get the drivers
involved. Right.
But I have to say, I don't like this car.
You don't? Okay. No. So I
don't like the black with that red. I don't like the steak whatever that sponsor,
the steak sponsor on the sign.
I also think you can't even see Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, to me, this looks like this car, and when they showed it, my first thought was like, it looks like it could be a Ferrari. Like, it doesn't, like, you know, it's just red.
I don't know.
And, like, it doesn't really have, like, the Alfa, like you said, like, the Alfa Romeo is so small on there. Like, I'm zooming in, trying to see it.
You almost want to call the car steak.
Right, true.
Yeah.
Like, almost like that's their title sponsor or something. And then another issue I have with this car is that it's very blocky. Like, it's red, and then there's a harsh line, and then it's black. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm not loving it. And then all of the other logos are, like, white.
Yeah.
So even, like, on last year's car, it was blocky like that, but then they had some other colors thrown in, and it seemed to
make it like
it flowed better.
It flowed better, yeah. I agree.
But a lot of people love this car on the internet. A lot of people this is one of their favorite cars. Yeah. It is not my favorite.
Not for me. But you know what I'm really interested in? You notice everyone's rear wing.
Yeah.
Is very different.
It is.
Everyone.
There's this
something's going on with the rear wings, and maybe we need to look into that more, but it's interesting.
It is interesting. And see, you notice more stuff like that. But now that I'm looking at it, what is that rear wing? It looks strange.
And then if you compare that to the Williams.
Yeah.
There's just something, I wonder if there's some type of new kind of technology or something that they're all
trying out, maybe. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Or maybe it has something to do with the DRS side of things. I don't know.
I have no idea. No, but that is interesting. And this one does look strange.
Yeah. Anyways, it was okay to me.
Okay, so one thing I did love though was their new racing suits are black. Mm-hmm. And I love a black racing suit, or the fireproofs or anything like that being black makes me really excited. I love that.
Oh, I know.
So I did like their attire. Their team kit looks cool. Also, Valtteri is still rocking his mullet.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was very happy to see.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he keeps it. I think it looks good. It makes his hair look thicker. He needs to keep it. Okay, so another thing, too, that I thought was interesting, that steak that you called out, that's one of their new sponsors. Mm-hmm. And it is an online gambling betting website situation.
Okay, kind of like DraftKings.
Yes. Yeah, right. So apparently it is illegal to advertise for gambling and betting things in Switzerland. So they might have like broken the law during this launch.
Interesting. But how is that?
Just for the simple fact that they filmed this in Switzerland and like, but here's my thing. I don't know, right?
Yeah, because then think of if there's any other F1
things that get broadcast.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. It's a very
I don't know. Apparently they were like investigating this, whether to see if they've broken some kind of law somewhere, but that was the word on the street. So,
okay. Moving on.
Now we're going to move on to AlphaTauri.
Yes.
And this one was also a New York City launch.
But Fashion Week.
Right. And it was on the tail end of Fashion Week. So I was envisioning all sorts of cool stuff. Because, I mean, they, like, AlphaTauri is their clothing line.
But why are you envisioning all sorts of cool stuff when Red Bull's was so terrible?
I don't know. I thought maybe, I was kind of hoping that the Red Bull launch was like, because they announced AlphaTauri first.
Yeah.
And then they announced Red Bull. And then I kind of was like thinking after watching the Red Bull launch that happened before the AlphaTauri launch, I was like, maybe they were like, okay, we're already going to be in New York. Like, let's just
save some money.
Yeah. Like let's just like do it here. We have all of our personnel, whatever. And then we're going to throw all of our eggs into this AlphaTauri like Fashion Week launch. And Red Bull is just going to kind of be weird. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay. That's my thought. Honestly, I was like thinking that they were going to put more of their eggs in this basket. Because it was like,
didn't.
Right. It was even like, I don't want to say it was worse because at least this one wasn't long and drawn out.
And awkward.
But it was not what I was expecting. Literally at all. Like, I was expecting a fashion show.
Something like maybe like they team it up with their clothing brand or something. Yeah.
And then like the car comes down the runway. Like I had all of these ideas, all of these thoughts. My expectations were like way up here.
I know, but I also
because it was Fashion Week.
I know, but I'm also an accountant, right? I'm sitting over here just like Alex is explaining all these things, and I'm sitting here and just thinking $, $. And you're literally getting absolutely no return on this investment.
I'm more of the side of like there is no budget because like there's no expense spared.
This
like,
is why Alex would never be a team principal.
No,
never. She doesn't.
We would go broke.
No, you would get the penalties for overspending.
Oh yeah.
See,
I would have cost cap issues for sure. But okay, so.
Okay, so
all of my expectations were up here, and what they did was not any of that, and left me honestly confused, and left me thinking that I was on the wrong like live stream channel. Literally, like I was literally like, no, I'm watching the wrong thing. Like this is not what I came here for.
Yeah.
But okay, so it ended up being it was literally like a 2-minute long video.
I like the short. Let's get real.
It was short.
That's a positive check mark for me right now. Keep going.
The video was cool. I will give them that. It was like a really cool hype video. And then it ended up like them showing this car.
Okay.
And really what it was, this presentation, it was like in this really, really cool building in New York City that had floor to ceiling, really tall ceilings, glass windows, great view of like buildings, New York City, whatever. That was the backdrop.
Sound great. I'm going like check.
Know, it wasn't what I was thinking, but it wasn't awful. But it did leave me wanting more, which is maybe a good thing.
I was just about to say.
So then they had this big curtain and they dropped the curtain.
Oh, I love a good curtain drop.
Yeah, and the curtain drop was good.
Yeah.
The curtain drop was good. And then they had the car front and center, and then they had Nick DeVries and Yuki standing wearing AlphaTauri clothes.
Okay.
Like, literally, I was like, are those wax, like, statues? Yeah. Like, they were not moving.
Yeah.
They had been prepped. Like, don't move, don't blink.
Yeah.
Don't smile.
We're there.
Don't laugh. You're standing here. You're a statue.
Yeah.
And then they had behind them, like, a row of maybe, like, 5 or 6. Honestly, what I thought when I was watching this, that they were mannequins. And I was like, wow, like, you couldn't even get, like, models to stand up there and wear the clothes. Like, I legit thought they were mannequins. And then they took their, like, they had, like, a balaclava thing on. And then they were wearing AlphaTauri clothes. And then after, like, a minute, they, like, took their little neck hat things off, balaclavas. And then they were just like models, like wearing. Oh, so it was cool. It was understated.
Like I need to go back and see this.
It's short. It's literally 2 minutes. Like it was. Now that I'm talking through it, I feel like I like it better than I did.
I know. I feel like I just sold you on this. I'm like, sell me on why you don't.
Right.
And I'm like,
you're totally right.
Okay.
After talking through it, I think I actually like it now. I thought it was cool. I thought it was understated.
I have to say though, sorry, I'm looking at the car now.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's similar, but unlike Red Bull, they did a flip of the color.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the blue underneath and the white on top.
Right. I do like the white. I like how they swapped that around. And I think doing something as simple as that.
And their tires.
I like the tires.
Like, makes me, like, want to think of, like, I don't know, weapons.
Yeah, they look like little Chinese stars almost.
Exactly, yep.
I do like the tires. I like the red on the tires. A lot of people were on the internet getting very angry about the red that they had to add because they have Orlen as a sponsor now, which Orlen used to sponsor Alfa Romeo last year. And their colors are white and red. And so I guess they suggested or asked or told them that they needed to add this red. And so a lot of people are mad because it was very clean. Up to this point, it's been that white and that navy blue. And then now adding the red.
It's not too much red, though.
It's not too much red. It's little dots thrown in.
I don't love the one down at the bottom.
I don't love that rectangle. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that. But I do like the red on the tires. I like the red on the rear wing.
And the rear wing's different also. There's something going on with the rear wings this year.
I think, too, they added this Italy stripe because they're technically based in Italy.
I like that.
So I think it makes sense to have the red. So I'm not super mad at it.
No,
I think it looks good.
Overall, I like it.
Yeah, I do like it. This launch that they did, it was also launching AlphaTauri just in the States. Yeah. Like, I don't know if they opened a store or whatever. So it was cool, it made sense. I still think they could have done a fashion show and it would have been way cooler, but
still better than Red Bull.
It was definitely better than Red Bull's. Wow. But okay, so
let's flip to number 6 launch.
Yeah.
McLaren.
So McLaren, I thought, McLaren's launch was kind of long, but I enjoyed watching it.
Is this just because you're biased and you like McLaren so much?
No. Well, yes and no, because I did, they had a lot of really well done videos that they kind of sprinkled in.
Okay.
And so this year, their car is called the MCL or MC60 because it's their 60th anniversary. So they had a really nice video that started out and then they talked about their history and it's their 60th anniversary. And I thought it was done really nicely.
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch. Everything flowed really well for me personally. They interviewed the drivers. One thing I will say is that Oscar Piastri kind of seemed a little bit bored. He didn't, I thought he would be a little bit more excited.
You never know.
But we're still getting to know him. Maybe that's his personality. Yeah, maybe he was nervous. I don't know. They also interviewed Zach Brown and Andrea Stella. So they had these brief interviews with all these people and then they kept on kind of throwing in these little videos. And so they also had a video of Oscar and Lando karting.
Oh, I saw that, I think, on Instagram.
Yeah, it was cute. Yeah, it was cute, and it kind of kept it, energy up and all of that. So they ended up debuting the car, around 15 minutes into this presentation, which I thought was great.
Yes.
You had some really good videos, kind of information going on, interviewed the people, and then let's get straight to it.
Yeah.
A lot of when they were doing that, there was a lot of laser lights going on and fog machines and all
totally
this hype.
See that.
Yeah. And then to me, initially when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's a Red Bull situation. The car looks the same.
No, it looks different.
It looks different.
But again, I don't like it. I don't like the Chrome. Google Chrome's logo is obnoxious to me.
It's so big. It's giving me billboard vibes.
It is. And then again, how do I know this is McLaren?
Right. No, I'm agreeing with you.
In the past, you always knew it was McLaren because of the orange.
Yeah.
But now I can't even tell.
Right. They've gotten rid of... There's still some orange on there, but they've gotten rid of a lot of the orange. Mm-hmm. They've, replaced it with this exposed black carbon, which, again, has been kind of the trend for a lot of these teams.
And there's a lot of new ventilation going all the way down the side.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Williams did.
So, I don't know. I don't hate it.
Interesting enough, their rear wing, is almost the same. Or looks very similar.
Yeah. Is what it did last year. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it's getting to be too busy. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. We've got D-Wall, we've got Velo, we've got Chrome. It's like billboard vibes.
It's like Alfa Romeo's where it's like too blocky.
Yeah. And one thing I do really like about it though is the Chrome wheel caps.
Chrome wheel cap.
I love that. Again, it's kind of like the Duracell thing in that like the chrome shape looks like that. So like it makes sense for it to be there.
Yep.
So one thing that left me disappointed with their car and all of the like stuff that was posted prior to the launch, like leading up into the launch, is they were teasing a lot of like pink colors and like magenta purple and whatever. And if you remember when in Singapore they did a like limited, whatever design for that Singapore race, and it was like cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And it was black and they had a lot of pink, and the race suits and the fireproof things were black, and I was in love with that. Like those are my favorite colors. Like I like the bright, I like the neon, I like all of that. So I was seeing all this stuff for the launch and seeing the pink and the purple, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do the Singapore car, and that's gonna be their car, and I'm like so excited for that
because orange is their thing.
I know, but I thought
unless they're trying to move away, and this is the first step to moving away.
And okay, so here's the suggestion that I have for McLaren. So this orange and this blue color, that used to be like they were sponsored by Gulf. Gulf is no longer sponsoring them. So why are you using this blue color still?
Yeah, or the orangey color.
Well, the orangey color I get, that's fine because that's their papaya color, whatever. So keep that, but let's replace this blue that was Gulf with a hot pink. Just saying.
Oh gosh,
I think it would look good. I think it looked great when they did that Singapore car, and I was expecting the Singapore car to be launched, and then it wasn't, and I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
It's giving me billboard. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite.
Okay, I'm kind of excited for the next one.
Okay.
Only because the next one is Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And we love their car.
We do. We love their car.
It's just it's very James Bond to us.
It's very James Bond. It looks classy. Sexy. It looks good. And let me tell you, it looks good again this year.
I know. Sorry. I
do like it. So I'm just going to jump ahead and say that.
That's what I'm like. Exactly.
I think it looks good. But okay, so let's back up. So I thought their launch was good.
Okay.
It was like a little less than an hour long.
Can't do that. I need 15 minutes.
I thought the launch was done well. I thought it was a little bit dramatic, like a little bit too epic,
But that's
kind of
James Bond.
Yeah, and it did give me vibes like that,
like over the top.
Yeah, like there was a lot of smoke happening, and like when the drivers came out, they were like walking through this like dark tunnel,
like that.
Kind of backlit. Like it looked cool. It looked cool.
So James
you should go back and just kind of like watch portions of it. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but get the vibe. And then too, you have Daddy Stroll, who's it's gotta be the best of the best.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. But okay, so they also had, like, the audience, I felt like, was a mix of some of their employees, some of the sponsors' employees, but then they had, like, cute, like, little kids as, like, fans and stuff.
Aww,
and it was really sweet. Like, there was a one moment that I thought was really cute and funny, and it's been, like, memed all over the internet at this point. But they had this little boy.
Okay.
And the announcer was like, hey, he's like, he you want to ask a question.
Yeah.
So he asks Lance Stroll, who is Lance Stroll's idol.
Okay.
And Lance Stroll standing next to Fernando Alonso is like, oh, my idol's Michael Schumacher.
Okay.
And, he's like, yeah, like I used to watch Fernando growing up, but like really my idol's Michael Schumacher. And I was like, damn, all right. Like,
I don't know, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think kind of laughed it off.
Well, and I think it's just the realistic, like, I think he was being honest with the boy. Like,
right. Look, you don't lie and say it's Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, just for press. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, like.
So it was fine. But then the announcer asked the little boy, like, well, who is your idol? Mm-hmm. And he goes, Fernando Alonso. It was so cute. It was really cute. I thought that was a really nice touch. I did enjoy that. Revealed the car, and it looks mostly the same.
There's no ventilation on the side now, which was interesting to me.
Because they had a lot of it last year. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they've lowered the amount of this, like, neon yellow color.
They've, like, kind of thinned it out.
Yeah, they still have that stripe there. But, I think the car looks great.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too.
I still like it. I think it looks classy.
Rear wing looks similar.
It's one of my favorites.
But your front wings
are different. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. They do.
So I think for them it's similar, but maybe subtle.
It looks like sleeker. It looks like a little bit skinnier in some way to me.
I would agree.
But I think it looks good. I thought their launch was good.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll was a little bit awkward. Like when he talks, like he's just kind of awkward.
I just think
all the time.
I don't know if he's awkward or if he's just more reserved. Like he's not like this big personality.
Yeah, he's just I don't know. It was fine. But I thought it was cute.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them.
I also like their outfits.
Okay.
Their outfits look nice. Mm-hmm. Their new shirt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I would say whatever they removed of this like highlighter yellow from the car, they like added it onto some of their clothes and like the shirt and stuff because I feel like I see more of that.
But I think that's a good place to
put it.
A fun place.
Yeah, I like that. And then they did have, like, I'm literally going to buy this hat.
Okay.
So they had a hat that was, like, that fluorescent yellow. Mm-hmm. And then, all of the branding, the Aston Martin stuff like that was done in that teal color.
Ooh.
I really, really liked that hat. I was like, ooh, I'm going to buy that.
That gives me Mercedes vibes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought the merch was looking good.
Oh no!
So I don't know.
Martin might be up on her top 5 real soon.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how they perform.
Okay.
But okay.
I feel like I need a drum roll for this.
I know. I need to take a sip.
I know, Alex. Okay, and Alex, remember, this isn't all about them. I know you love them and you could talk about them all day, but
what?
You got to tame yourself with them.
I know. I really do.
Okay.
So we're talking about Ferrari.
Of course.
If you haven't realized.
I feel like you guys have to know by now who we are coming up on.
So,
which was announced on Valentine's Day.
Yes, it was a Valentine's Day launch. Yeah. I set my alarm. Okay, so this happened
at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, it was 4:30 a.m. our time, and I set my alarm to get up and watch this, and my husband was like, if you have an alarm going off at 4:30 in the morning, there's going to be issues. So I was like, okay, like let me try to do like a vibrate or whatever so it doesn't wake him up, and then I didn't wake up. So
it's hilarious.
But it's fine.
I'm awake at 4:30 in the morning.
I didn't even watch it. I am not. Okay, so did you watch this one?
No, I didn't.
Courtney!
I told you.
Oh my god. I need to go back and watch this one. It was so good.
Okay. I know I need
Okay, so it was Valentine's Day. I'm not trying to be biased, but this hands down was the best launch out of like all of them. And it's not because I'm a huge Ferrari fan.
I don't know, because AlphaTauri sounded pretty good. Okay. And then so let's see.
But no, it was not. It was not as good. Okay, so they did their launch. It was in Maranello at the track. They had a stand full of true Ferrari fans.
Oh, I love that.
They were riding hard. They had signs. They all had their gear on. They were screaming. They were super excited.
Singing, hopefully.
Yes. Like, they were totally in on it. Like, it was not the Alfa Romeo fan club that they had. Like, these were, like, real Tifosi people, which I feel like is super easy to find.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like, they probably were just like, yo, like, do you want to come in?
Or they probably
sit down?
just posted it and like, oh, show up at
the first 500 people or whatever that show up. So anyways, that was exciting. Gave me goosebumps. They were like super excited about it. They briefly interviewed the drivers, and then they had like some of their academy drivers. Antonio Giovinazzi is one of their reserve drivers next year. And then also Robert Schwartzman.
Okay.
And then they had some of their academy drivers too that they interviewed just quickly.
Was Charles's brother?
No, okay. Charles's brother wasn't there. They had, so it was Robert, Antonio Giovinazzi. I just love saying his last name, Giovinazzi. Okay. They had like, there's 2 girls. One of their names is Mia, and she's like going to be an F3, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, his brother wasn't there. I thought it would have been nice to have his brother, but maybe he was busy. Anyways. So then they also talked to Fred and just briefly kind of interviewed him. So the best part is they showed the car and the car looked great. And then they were like, but wait, there's more. Like, we're actually going to drive this car on the track then.
It wasn't like one of the show cars then.
No, it was like the car.
Maybe not like 100% the car. Like, I'm sure maybe it didn't have everything, but like enough to where. So who drove it?
I was thrilled. Literally, Charles.
And not
Carlos.
Okay, so, I didn't know if they had 2.
So what they did was they had a little video and they played that. And so basically like the day before or what have you, like they flipped a coin to see who would drive first.
Yeah.
And the person that drove first only got to do 2 laps, but then the second driver was going to get to do 3.
And did the second driver get to do, like, donuts?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway. Charles kind of did a little something or other at the end when he was coming in. But, so anyway, so he gets to drive first.
Okay.
They showed him doing 2 laps. Like, I'm getting giddy, like, talking about it.
It's actually pretty cool. I like this.
That was so cool. Like,
way to not only show the car, but, like, really show off the car.
Really show off the car. Like, we got to see it on the track. Like, he got to drive around. It looked great. It sounded great. That was exciting. Literally no one else did that. And then that was risky. I mean, this is live streamed.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have tested this out prior.
But it's just like a race.
But you literally never know.
Yeah, something can go wrong.
Literally never know. And like, how embarrassing would that have been for them? And I'm pretty sure that's why like none of these other teams like do that
it's a big risk.
Live.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge risk. Like, you're putting yourself out there to be torn apart if something goes wrong.
About Ferrari, though. And
yeah, I think they have a lot of confidence
that they feel in their car, their drivers, their team this year,
which made me so excited. I was just thrilled. I can't say enough about that.
So I know
that was great.
I know you said the car looks like very similar, right?
Yeah,
and I'm actually like looking more detail into it. Right, it's actually very different.
You're like, no. And now that I'm looking at it,
first of all, the red is a different.
The red is a different shade, which
one is like matte versus matte. And
2, I think the one that they have this year is more of the traditional Ferrari red.
Yeah,
where like the past couple years, it's been kind of like a darker.
Yeah, like a matte.
Yeah. So I do like that. I like that a lot.
I love the whole side panel is very different.
It looks like, again, skinnier to me.
It looks skinnier, and I think there's got to be something with the way the wind's coming off and whatnot.
More aerodynamic.
Yeah, but then the rear wing looks very similar.
Okay. One thing about the rear wing, though, which you can't really tell in this picture, is they have the Ferrari logo. They heard us.
Alex's manifest came true.
We manifested this, and it happened. So let me just tell you, I'm super excited about that. And they need to never change it because it looks
so good.
So good. Oh God, it gives me chills. I can't.
No, I love it.
I can't.
I just think this is done really well.
Yeah, I thought. They're hands down.
You added the black without overdoing it. I
feel
like.
And I will accept that because they gave me my rear wing that I wanted.
I love how they have the horse on the side.
Yeah.
Like it looks
right. It's like you can tell this is a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's done very
100%.
And
Yeah.
I like
it looks good. I like the Ray-Ban.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. And beyond all of that, I was super to the point of being thrilled that they actually drove this car around.
No, I think, okay,
that was fantastic.
For sure moves it to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Because there's something that's just really cool.
Yeah, and it was cute too. Like, so Carlos, like, because Charles was driving, so Carlos got on the radio and he was like, Lord Percival, how does the car feel?
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, oh, it feels great, mate. You know, like, whatever. And he's like, I want to do another lap. Aww. And Carlos was like, no, box. Like, it was cute. Yeah. Like, it made me, I was like, oh my God, I forgot, like, how cute they are together. Yeah, and, like, this is so exciting.
They're not like some of the other pairings, but at the same time, they
get along great. Yeah. And I just, you know, it made me really excited. Well, I thought they did a great job.
I like it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, you need to go back and watch that one. And it was maybe the whole thing, like, less than 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It was, like, enjoyable to watch.
Okay.
But it made me really excited.
Woo!
I was like, oh my God, I'm so giddy. I love it. It made my day. I watched that one before I left the house, and I had a great day that day. And it was Valentine's Day.
See, maybe I need to do that because tomorrow's Monday, so.
Oh, you should watch it before you leave the house.
Yep.
Moving on to Mercedes.
Yep.
And this was, to me, also a really good launch. I thought that they did a good job. Mm-hmm. I think it was the day after Ferrari, so maybe they saw what Ferrari did and they were like,
okay,
oh crap, like we gotta like amp up what we're doing here. So I thought it was great because they started out this live stream and they had like a little behind the scenes kind of moment and showing Toto with the drivers, and like it was funny because Toto had forgotten his shoes, and so he's telling Lewis he's wearing his shoes.
Oh my goodness.
So it was just like a cute, like I was like, oh wow, that's funny, you know, whatever. They didn't really have, like, an audience there. It seemed to be, like, they were at Silverstone.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they were at Silverstone.
And, I mean, I think it's cool to have fans, but sometimes I don't think you need it either.
And it was
especially with
quiet,
technology now.
Right.
You know?
I thought it was really sleek.
Yeah.
I thought it was done really well. They interviewed the drivers. They included Mick. They had him. They talked to him, and then they went like pretty much straight into the car launch.
Okay.
Which for that portion, they did have a small audience, and the audience was like a lot of interns and like younger employees. Yeah, which I was like, cool. Oh, that's really cool. I really liked that they did that.
That's how you build like a community within the company. I feel
100%.
Like you start
and
like
they talked
with the
about
young people and really building that brand culture,
right,
love,
and the loyalty. Yeah. And Toto talked about that. He was like, you know, we have these interns here, and like some of them have, you know, worked on projects that have like helped for this car and for our different sponsors and whatever. And he's like, you know, they're the future of the company. So, like, we wanted to bring them. And I was like, oh, my God, that's really cool. I like that a lot. Instead of, like, these, you know, old-timer boomer people.
Yeah, like, or, like, who's donating the most money or giving the most money. Like, come on. Like, yes, you need money. But there's a lot of people behind this that have nothing to do with giving millions and millions of dollars to the company. Right. You know what I mean? So, I kind of like that.
They just looked so excited. They were, like, happy to be there, which was great. Which, again... Going back to the Alfa Romeo, like, you want people that, like, genuinely want to be there for something like this. Yeah. But, okay, so then they show the car, and this car...
I love the black.
Looks incredible.
Like, I always liked the silver. Like, even though I don't like Mercedes as a team...
Yeah.
I always liked their car, but this black with that blue is just, looks... like... Yeah.
It looks so good. It literally looks so good.
It looks like the Batmobile.
I was just going to say it's giving Batmobile.
Yeah.
And you remember we talked about Toto kind of being like Batman?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. It looks so good.
It does.
I think it looks great. And then also too, I thought was interesting. So he talked about how Silver Arrow's nickname, and like that came from back when the cars were made out of aluminum. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to save weight, and so they stripped a lot of the paint off, and they ended up with the silver car because it was just the raw aluminum.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, that's kind of what we've done with this black one, because it's a lot of it,
the
carbon. It's the carbon. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I looked at it, and to me, it almost looks like they painted it black, but then it's not.
I'm sure they did a little bit.
There's some portions that are painted black, but a lot of it is the main bulk of it is that exposed carbon. Mm-hmm. But I think here it's done really well.
Oh, yeah.
It makes sense. I think it looks good.
I 1,000% agree. It's like they've committed to it.
Yeah.
I feel like all the other teams didn't commit to the black.
Right.
They just kind of added it.
Right.
Versus Mercedes was like, no, if we're going to do this, we're going
to go all black.
Yeah. I love it.
And I think it looks really sleek and it looks mean. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's going to be fast, which makes me worried. But I think it looks good.
But then if you kind of look, though, at the car itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like, it looks very similar, like even some of the body, yeah. But then again, I don't know. I mean,
the shape of it looks really similar to what they had last year.
Which, I mean, really last year, their biggest problem was engine issues. Wasn't it? Like, it wasn't even like...
Well, and then they had the porpoising, the floor issues, and all of that. And it just, like, wasn't, like, as fast as they had typically been.
Yeah, yeah.
But another thing I want to talk about their launch. So their whole launch was like 30 minutes long. Okay. Which was good. It was like quick. It was to the point. I thought the content that they shared, the conversations they were having were all good. And then they said that they were going to, because they were at Silverstone, they were going to go drive the car later on that day. And they were going to post to their socials like of them driving the car. Well, so I was like, oh, that's cool. And having come off of the Ferrari, like, car driving, I was like, oh, I want to see this. So I kept on checking back throughout the day and like didn't see anything. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. And like literally the only clips that they had was like one of them coming out of the garage, like down the pit lane. And it was like a 5-second long clip. And I was like, that's strange. Well, then I started to see people talking about how they had issues that day. Okay. So they had some kind of issues. They couldn't really run the car
like they wanted to.
They wanted to. And so that's obviously why they didn't have a lot of clips to share.
But again, the risk.
And you know what? I'm like, it could have happened to Ferrari. Could have happened to anybody that chooses to do that. So again, the confidence.
Oh, God.
Makes me excited. But okay. So, moving on to the last launch, and that was Alpine.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just going to come out and say it. I absolutely hated this launch.
They were late.
They were late, first of all.
Oh, see, I would have stopped watching at that point.
Well, and I almost did, but I was like, well, what's going to happen? Like, what's going on? So, again, that, like, I was watching this live stream, and this one, it was like 2 p.m. local time. Mm-hmm. So, I turned it on, and I was like, working, watching this, just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. And then it was late, and then I thought I was on the wrong channel, so I kept on, like, changing back and forth, and come to find out, they were, like, probably, when they started, it was probably, like, 10 or so minutes after they were supposed to start, which was weird.
Does not work for me.
I'm like, why are you doing a live stream and, like, you're late? Like, be prepared. Like,
be professional.
Like, thousands of people across the world, tuning in for this.
Yeah.
Like, what is possibly going on? Okay, so their launch was in London. Okay. The crowd was very heavily, like, businessy and cold. Yeah. Like, when they did start the live stream, the announcer came on and she was like, okay, like, applaud. Like, she was, like, trying to, like, get something out of these people. Yeah. And they didn't really show the crowd a whole lot. So, like, I'm not entirely sure who was there, but they seemed
doesn't
bored.
Sound great.
Yeah, it wasn't giving good vibes. I think this launch was worse than the RedBull one, to be honest. It was super long. Yeah. Super long. They were late. It was awkward. It didn't flow right. Mm-hmm. They had these people come and talk, which I think were like part of Renault or like, I don't know, some leadership. It was people I had never seen before. Yeah. They talked a lot.
That's awkward in itself when people don't know who really.
And they said who they were, but I was so, like, at this point, I was kind of checked out.
To where, like, the average F1 fan would know who they are.
I didn't know who they were. Wasn't really interested. So another thing, too, was that photos of their car had actually leaked on the internet. like a few days before this launch, because they took the car to Silverstone to test it around. Do laps or whatever. And then somebody that was there had taken pictures of it and like posted it to their Instagram account.
Oh gosh.
Which is like naughty. Shouldn't be doing that. But I had seen the leaked photos and I was like underwhelmed. And then I was like, oh, surely that's like not the car that they're really going to launch. Or like
the final one.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's their like test car. Like, because I was like, it's kind of ugly. Like, I don't really like it.
Yeah.
And then when they launched the car, it was like, that car. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Like, looking at the car, I don't like the black.
I don't like the black.
So bad.
I don't like the black. I don't think the black goes well here with this blue.
Well, where they did it.
And then also, too, you see these, like, little details, like, kind of like triangle, like, decal.
It's, like, trying to, like, make, like, a ripple.
Yeah, I don't love it. I think it looks cheap.
I don't know. It's not. I wish they would have done more pink.
Well, okay, so to your point of more pink, they actually have... So they revealed 2 cars.
Okay.
They have a blue Alpine and they have a pink Alpine.
Okay.
And the pink Alpine is like almost completely pink.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be running that car for the first 3 races.
Oh, it reminds me of the Force India car.
Yeah.
I like the Force India
what it
car.
is this sponsor, this BWT.
No, I know.
All that pink. I know.
But it's actually
I think they should keep it.
That's what I think.
Like, go all in on it. Like, why are you only going to do it for 3 races? And, like, they have a lot of pink on the car as it is.
Mm-hmm. And there's no one else really on the track with that kind of pink. So why aren't you trying
to be different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I do not like this car. And it's not my favorite.
It's just not doing anything for me.
It's not doing anything for me. You're exactly right.
It's just okay.
So,
and you know what makes me sad?
Huh.
This is a French team.
I know.
And it like doesn't give me any French vibes.
It's not giving me French. It's giving me, honestly, I hate to say this, it's giving me kind of cheap.
Yes.
It doesn't, like, French to me
it's like
should be like couture and classy and like timeless. And this is giving me like
a 2-year-old slapped all these things together and can make a decision on what they want.
No, I don't like it. This is one of my least favorite cars.
I know, and it makes me sad because we were talking about this in their episode. Yeah. I was like really hoping they came out with like very French.
Yeah.
You know? And then we were like, oh, hopefully they won't have too much pink and they'll do like the real traditional French vibe, you know?
Yeah, so to me, I think you have to go one of 2 ways. Like, if they want to give the BWT pink car the first 3 races, then after that, let's go like hard French.
Yeah.
You know?
Or do all pink all season or hard French all season.
Right. Like, let's not, like, this halvesies, like, it's like not it. It's not it for me. Outside of that, the rest of their launch, it was super, again, long, drawn out. They brought out Esteban and Pierre, and I feel like they hate each other.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, they hate each other so much.
We've totally declared that.
Yeah, it was...
But they don't get along.
So they don't get along, and, like, the announcer was like, oh, so you guys have been friends for... And they're pushing this friends agenda.
Oh, yeah.
To the point of, like, something's wrong. Like, it's awkward. And so the announcer's like, oh, you've been friends since you were karting and whatever. And they were like, yeah, like, you know, we've known each other for many years. And, like, it was just awkward. Like, I feel like I'm getting this agenda pushed on me.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're not friends.
Yeah.
Like, let them not be friends. Let them hate each other.
Because
I think that's more interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside of that, they had a really long presentation, and then they talked about this Race Her program.
I think that's cool.
That was cool. I do like that. I thought it was like super long. Like, they could have shortened that up a little bit. But they talked about that and how they're supporting females in motorsport and like in engineering and all that, which is great and cool. And then they have a female driver who's, I like follow her on Instagram. Her name's Sophia. I can't pronounce her last name. She's gorgeous and she's like a fantastic race car driver.
Okay.
I'm like, if there's anybody that's going to be a female in F1 the next several years, like my money is on her.
Ooh.
So she's going to be in F3 for them. She's one of their academy drivers. She's the first female driver in this like Race Her program. They also have a new Alpine ambassador, which is like the soccer person that's like apparently really famous soccer guy. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
Zenedine somebody. He came out. He doesn't really speak English, so he was speaking in French. The whole thing was just really long. And I was like, I can't imagine being there and being like, is this going to be done?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking that, like, and I didn't want to like, I could have closed it out.
Yeah.
But then I was like, what if I missed something?
Oh, always.
There was nothing to be missed.
You always had the FOMO.
I know, I was having FOMO. But, other than that, their race suits are also, like, I couldn't tell if they were a dark navy or a black color. But they're darker, which I don't really know that it goes.
Again, I'm
nothing
not
meshes well, including the drivers.
It's like a hodgepodge.
It is.
Ugh.
So I don't know. It was kind of like, blah.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. Don't love the car. But okay, so let's finish up. My favorite launch, hands down, Ferrari.
Oh, easy. That's
hands
gonna
down,
be me
favorite
too.
launch was Ferrari. My favorite car, Mercedes.
Yeah.
I have to say my
Aston
favorite.
Martin, I really like.
Yeah, I liked the Mercedes. I liked the Aston. I liked the Ferrari. Hated the RedBull Launch. Hated the Alpine Launch. Hate the Alpine car, I think, the most.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also liked the Williams. Liked the Haas.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all the cars in Bahrain this weekend.
Yeah.
And kind of see what happens.
I know.
And drive to survive.
I can't wait for these, like, testing sessions.
I know.
To see, like, how it really looks, you know?
No,
and, like, how everyone's doing. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I'll be good.
Wait. But, all right. Well, I think that's it for today.
Yeah. I think next week we'll have kind of some of Drive to Survive and maybe a little bit of
testing.
Season testing. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So
you can listen to us on wherever you listen to all of your podcasts.
Yes.
Apple, YouTube, iHeartRadio,
Amazon Podcast, Spotify,
and Google. So my sister-in-law, she has like the Google phone or whatever. And she was like, "Oh, I can't listen to you," and we found out Google.
Really?
Yeah, we're on Google Podcasts.
Interesting. Cool, great.
Yeah. So
I don't remember signing up for that.
Yeah. So for all those people who are not Apple people and you think you can't do it. Google.
Well, you know, there was one of the things is Stitcher, and I think Stitcher goes out to like a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, so listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
If you want to see us, YouTube and Spotify with video.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram at Queens of the Paddock.
Twitter's up and running.
We are on Twitter.
Yeah.
We have a very special Twitter manager.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I want to give a shout out to one of our followers.
Yeah.
It was, do you remember their name? You had sent me.
Oh, Zeta.
So Zeta sent us a ton of information on Logan.
Hi. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
So please reach out.
Yeah, we love hearing.
We love hearing from you guys.
What did it say? Like, loves the chaos of us.
Yeah. Loved our chaos. So thank you. We love our chaos too.
Yeah.
So much fun.
But you've been listening to.
This has been Queens of the Paddock in F1 Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Courtney. And lights out and away we go.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.